Welcome to our channel. Today, we're uncovering super rare and valuable Lincoln pennies, coins that could be worth thousands or even more. Watch till the end to find out what makes these pennies so special. In 2017, a remarkable coin, a 1-cent penny, emerged from the US Mint, a seemingly ordinary coin that would go on to capture the imagination of collectors, historians, and numismatists alike. To the casual observer, a penny is just another piece of pocket change, something we rarely give a second glance. But when this particular penny was released, it soon became clear that it was far from ordinary. What makes this 2017 penny so special? You might be surprised to learn that its value skyrocketed over the years. But to fully understand how this humble coin became so valuable, we need to explore its fascinating history, its design, the circumstances surrounding its minting, and the elements that contribute to its rarity. First, let's rewind a bit and take a look at the history of the US penny. The penny, or the 1-cent coin, has been a cornerstone of American currency since its inception in 1793. Over the centuries, the design of the penny has undergone numerous changes, but there's one constant: the penny has always been seen as an accessible piece of currency, a coin everyone has in their pocket. In fact, the penny is often the first coin we come across in our early encounters with money, a small piece of copper or zinc that serves as the foundation of understanding the world of currency. But the 2017 penny wasn't just another typical release. There was something different about it. You see, the 2017 penny is often referred to by collectors as the P Mint penny. This refers to the mint mark P stamped onto the coin, which stands for the Philadelphia Mint, where the coin was struck. The P Mint mark wasn't always present on the penny, though. In fact, for much of its history, the penny was only struck at the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark. But in 2017, a historic change took place. The US Mint decided to add the P Mint mark to the penny for the first time. For collectors, this was a significant event because the addition of the P Mint mark made the 2017 penny a unique piece in the long history of American currency. But before we dive into the details of its value, let's take a moment to appreciate the design of the 2017 penny itself. The penny's design has always been a reflection of the American ideals it represents, and the 2017 penny is no exception. At the heart of its design is the image of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose likeness has graced the penny since 1909. On the obverse side, we see Lincoln's portrait, sculpted by Victor David Brenner. The words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and 2017 surround Lincoln's image, giving the penny its unmistakable look. On the reverse side, the penny features a depiction of the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of Lincoln's legacy and the nation's reverence for his leadership. The reverse side also bears the phrase, E pluribus unum, and 1 cent, along with the famous motto, United States of America. The design itself is timeless, a beautiful representation of the country's history and values, and it continues to resonate with collectors and coin enthusiasts. Now, let's talk about the minting of the 2017 penny. The United States Mint, based in Philadelphia, is responsible for producing the country's coins, including the penny. Each year, the mint produces billions of pennies to meet the needs of the nation's economy. However, the production process isn't as simple as just stamping out coins. Every coin is carefully designed, struck, and inspected to ensure it meets the highest standards of quality and precision. The 2017 penny was no exception, but it did have some unique features that set it apart from previous years. The inclusion of the P Mint mark was a big deal, not just for collectors, but for anyone who has ever paid attention to the history of American coinage. After all, the P Mint mark had never been used on the penny before, and that made it a significant departure from the norm. This simple yet profound change would go on to spark interest from collectors, who saw the addition of the P Mint mark as a historic and rare opportunity to own a piece of US Mint history. But why, you might ask, is this penny so valuable? What makes it worth more than its face value of 1 cent? To answer that, we have to understand the rarity of the coin and the conditions that make it highly sought after by collectors. First and foremost, it's important to note that the 2017 P penny was only produced in limited quantities. The US Mint released a limited number of these pennies into circulation, which made them harder to find in the wild. Moreover, the presence of the P Mint mark is a key factor in the coin's rarity. Since the penny had not featured the P mint mark in over a century, this single feature made it a must-have for serious collectors. As with any collectible item, rarity plays a huge role in determining its value. The fewer of these pennies there are in circulation, the more valuable they become over time. Coin collectors and numismatists constantly search for rare, limited edition coins that hold historical significance. The 2017 penny quickly became a prized possession for those in the numismatic community. But it wasn't just the rarity of the penny that made it so valuable. Condition plays a huge role in determining a coin's worth. A penny that is in pristine condition, with no wear, scratches, or discoloration, will always fetch a higher price than one that has been heavily circulated. The 2017 penny, especially in mint or uncirculated condition, became a holy grail for collectors. Some of these coins were even graded as proof coins, which are specially made to be as flawless as possible and are not typically intended for circulation. As the years passed and more people became aware of the coin's unique history, demand for the 2017 penny began to rise. Coin dealers, collectors, and enthusiasts alike started to recognize the value of this coin, and its price began to climb. What was once a humble penny, worth just 1 cent, soon became a rare collector's item, and as interest grew, so did the price. Today, the 2017 penny stands as one of the most sought-after coins for collectors. And while its face value remains just 1 cent, some examples of this coin, depending on condition and rarity, can sell for a staggering price. Over time, the price has climbed to a value of $20,000 for certain pristine, rare specimens. That's right, $20,000 for a penny, but how did a coin that's technically worth just 1 cent become worth such a fortune? The answer lies in the rarity, condition, and historical significance of the coin. Coins are more than just currency, they are pieces of history. Each coin tells a story, and the 2017 penny tells a unique story of a historic minting decision, a new mark added to an iconic design, and a piece of American history that will never be replicated. It's the rarity, the perfect condition, and the collector's passion that combine to make the 2017 penny so valuable today. So, how did a simple penny become worth $20,000? It was all about timing, history, rarity, and the demand of passionate collectors. The 2017 penny stands as a testament to the fascinating world of numismatics and the unexpected treasures that can lie hidden in plain sight. While most people wouldn't think twice about tossing a penny into their pocket or letting it fall through the cracks of the couch, there are some who see these coins as windows into history, pieces of a story worth preserving and, in some cases, worth thousands of dollars. Next time you see a penny, take a moment to look closely. It might not be worth much on the surface, but for those in the know, it could be the key to unlocking an unexpected fortune. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one who finds the next hidden treasure in your change. Up next, the 1992 1-cent coin, a seemingly humble penny that has a story full of twists, turns, and surprises. At first glance, this penny might not look any different from the billions of other pennies that were struck that year, but it holds a secret, a rare anomaly that would eventually captivate collectors and become one of the most sought-after coins in the numismatic world. The 1992 penny was part of the long tradition of 1-cent coins that had been circulating in the US for over a century. By the time the 1992 version was minted, the design had been relatively stable for decades. The coin featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the iconic Lincoln Memorial gracing the reverse. This was the design that had been in place since 1959, and it was expected to remain that way for years to come. However, in the world of coin collecting, things are rarely as simple as they seem. The process of minting coins is an intricate one, with many steps involved in creating the final product. Dies, metal molds that imprint the coin's design onto the blank pieces of metal, are used in the striking process. And these dies don't last forever. Over time, they can wear down or become damaged, leading to subtle variations in the design. In 1992, the US Mint was in the midst of an ongoing shift in their production methods. The Mint had been using new technologies and machinery to streamline the production process, but the transition didn't go as smoothly as planned. As a result, some of the dies that had been used to mint the 1991 pennies remained in circulation and were inadvertently used to strike 1992 pennies. Now, this may not sound like a big deal at first. After all, a small discrepancy in the die doesn't seem like it would make much of a difference, right? But in the world of coin collecting, even the tiniest of errors can be incredibly valuable. And that's exactly what happened with the 1992 penny. The coins struck with these older 1991 dies have a subtle yet noticeable difference compared to the regular 1992 pennies. The design details, particularly the lettering and the features of Lincoln's portrait, show a slight variation due to the wear and tear on the 1991 dies. In essence, these 1992 pennies are what collectors call die variety coins, meaning that they have a unique feature that sets them apart from the typical coin of that year. At first, no one noticed the mistake. Most people were going about their daily lives, paying for things with their spare change, not realizing that a small handful of these pennies were destined to become some of the most valuable in history. The rarity of these coins wasn't immediately apparent because they blended in with the rest of the 1992 pennies that were being circulated across the country, but as the years went by and the coin collecting community grew more vigilant, word began to spread about the rare 1992 pennies struck with the 1991 dies. The numismatic world took notice, and collectors began to hunt for these special coins, realizing that they were worth much more than a single cent. In fact, the rarity of these coins, combined with their historical significance, began to drive up their value. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about the implications of this discovery. Coins like this are not only valuable because of the error in their production, but also because they are tangible pieces of history. The 1992 penny with the 1991 die is a snapshot of a specific moment in time, a moment when a mistake made during the minting process turned an ordinary coin into an extraordinary one. In the world of numismatics, rarity is king. The fewer coins that exist with a particular error or characteristic, the more valuable they become. In the case of the 1992 penny, only a handful of these error coins were ever produced, and even fewer have survived in excellent condition. As a result, the demand for these coins has only increased, with collectors eager to add one to their collection. So, what makes this coin so special, aside from the error in the die? Well, the condition of the coin plays a major role in its value. Just like with any other collectible item, the better the condition of the coin, the more it will be worth. A penny that has been well preserved, with minimal wear and tear, will command a higher price than one that has been in circulation for years, showing signs of heavy use. The 1992 penny with the 1991 die error is particularly valuable when it is found in mint condition, meaning that it has barely been touched by human hands and shows no signs of wear. This pristine condition is a rare find, which is why the value of these coins has skyrocketed over the years. Coins that are graded as MS65 or higher, meaning they have virtually no visible wear, are considered to be in mint state and are the most coveted by collectors. But let's be clear, while the 1992 penny with the 1991 die error is valuable, it's still not an easy coin to find. As I mentioned earlier, only a small number of these coins were produced, and even fewer are in good enough condition to be worth a significant amount of money. That's why it's so exciting for collectors who manage to find one of these rare coins in their change, at a coin show, or in a collection that's been passed down through generations. Now, you might be wondering just how much this rare 1992 penny can actually be worth. After all, a penny is just 1 cent, right? Well, that's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Today, the 1992 penny with the 1991 die error has become one of the most valuable modern coins in the world of numismatics. While the exact value can fluctuate depending on the market and the condition of the coin, a 1992 penny in mint state can sell for as much as $83,000. It's hard to believe, isn't it? That a small mistake in the minting process, combined with the passage of time and the rarity of the coin, can turn a simple penny into a treasure worth thousands of dollars. But that's the magic of coin collecting. What may seem like a small, ordinary object can, in the right circumstances, become a highly coveted piece of history. So, next time you're holding a penny in your hand, take a closer look. You never know if you might be holding a rare 1992 penny with the 1991 die error, one of the most valuable pennies ever minted. And if you are, well, you might just be holding on to a small fortune. The penny. It's one of the most common coins in the United States, used daily by millions of people to make change, buy small items, or accumulate in jars around the house. For many, it's easy to overlook this tiny piece of currency, often tossed aside as something that doesn't have much significance. But what if I told you that a simple penny from 1983 could be worth an incredible amount, up to $108,000? Yes, that's right, a coin worth 1 cent when it was minted, but now a treasure worth thousands. How could that possibly be? Well, the story of the 1983 USA 1-cent penny is more fascinating than you might think. Let's start with the context of the 1980s. The 1983 penny was part of a much larger shift in the way the US government produced its currency. During this time, the price of copper, the primary material used in the penny, was rising. It was becoming increasingly expensive to mint pennies using the traditional composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. As a result, the US Mint had to find a more affordable alternative, leading to the creation of a new penny composition in 1982. Before 1982, pennies were made almost entirely from copper. But with the rising costs of materials, the US Mint introduced a new composition, a core of copper-plated zinc, making the penny much cheaper to produce. This change caused quite a stir in the coin world, as it marked the end of the classic, copper-heavy penny. The new zinc composition was lighter and less durable, but it allowed the mint to cut costs and keep up with the demands of modern currency production. While the change in material composition was significant, the year 1983 holds even more intrigue due to a peculiar, rare occurrence. This is where things start to get really interesting. When the US Mint was transitioning to the new zinc-based pennies, there were still some leftover copper blanks from the previous year, 1982. These copper blanks, also known as planchets, were meant to be used for the old, copper-based pennies. However, a small number of these copper planchets were mistakenly fed into the new, 1983 zinc penny production line. As a result, a handful of pennies were struck using the 1982 copper planchets but with the 1983 design. This mistake, although seemingly small, would go on to create one of the most sought-after errors in modern coin collecting. These pennies, known as the 1983 copper penny, are rare, and they've since become a coveted find among numismatists and collectors. Let's take a closer look at the design of the 1983 penny. The obverse, or front, features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln has been on the penny since 1909, and his image remains one of the most recognizable symbols of American currency. The reverse design, which was introduced in 1959, depicts the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of American unity and history. This design, however, would soon be replaced in 2009 to commemorate the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth, but the 1983 penny still carries this traditional and timeless imagery. What makes the 1983 penny even more intriguing, though, is the minting process. Most of the 1983 pennies were struck using the new zinc composition, but a small fraction of them, likely less than a few dozen, were mistakenly struck with the copper planchets. These 1983 copper pennies are distinct not just in their composition, but also in their appearance. The color of the copper planchets gives the coin a much richer, reddish hue, contrasting sharply with the lighter, more yellowish color of the zinc pennies. To the casual observer, these pennies might seem identical to a normal penny, but when you closely inspect a 1983 copper penny, the difference is clear. These coins carry with them a story of an accidental mix-up at the mint, and that story has captivated the imaginations of coin collectors around the world. But how do we know just how rare these coins are? Well, this is where things get really fascinating. The mint did not intend for these copper planchets to be used in the 1983 production run, which means that only a very small number of these 1983 copper pennies exist. No one knows the exact number, but estimates suggest that fewer than 10 of these rare pennies were released into circulation. This rarity has made them incredibly valuable to collectors. While it might seem unlikely to find one of these elusive coins in your pocket change today, it's not completely out of the question. The 1983 copper penny could still be found by the lucky few who happen upon one. But finding one is incredibly rare. Most of these coins were eventually pulled from circulation by the mint after they were identified as errors. As a result, only a small handful remain in the hands of collectors, hidden away in private collections or in the vaults of numismatic institutions. So, what makes these pennies so valuable? In the world of coin collecting, rarity is king. The fewer coins there are with a particular characteristic or error, the more valuable they become. The 1983 copper penny is a prime example of this. Because of its unique composition and the fact that so few of these pennies were ever made, it is considered one of the most valuable error coins in the world today. But, of course, rarity alone doesn't determine the value of a coin. The condition of the coin also plays a crucial role in its worth. A coin that has been well preserved, free from scratches, dents, and other imperfections, will be worth significantly more than one that shows signs of wear and tear. In the case of the 1983 copper penny, the coins that have survived in pristine condition are the ones that attract the highest prices at auctions. Professional coin grading services, such as the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, and the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, play a critical role in determining the condition of coins. They assess coins based on factors like luster, sharpness of detail, and the amount of wear. A coin that earns a grade of MS 65 or higher, meaning it's in near perfect condition, will fetch a much higher price than a coin with a lower grade. In fact, the most valuable 1983 copper pennies are those that have been graded as mint state or MS, indicating that they are in near perfect condition, having never been circulated. These coins have been kept in protective cases and handled with the utmost care, preserving their value. Now, you're probably wondering just how much a 1983 copper penny can be worth. After all, it started out as a humble 1-cent coin. But the error, combined with its rarity and the collector demand, has caused its value to skyrocket over the years. While most 1983 pennies are worth just 1 cent today, the 1983 copper penny with the rare mistake can be worth a lot more, up to an astounding $108,000. The high value of these pennies is a testament to the fascinating world of coin collecting. What might seem like an insignificant mistake at the US Mint has turned into a treasure hunt for collectors, with the potential to yield an extraordinary financial windfall. So, next time you're going through your loose change or browsing through a coin shop, keep an eye out for the 1983 copper penny. Who knows? You might just be holding on to a piece of history that could be worth a small fortune. The 1974 1-cent penny, at first glance, it might seem like just another ordinary coin, something you toss in your pocket or leave behind in a cup holder. But hidden within the history of this simple penny lies a fascinating story that has captivated coin collectors for decades. It's a coin that was minted nearly 50 years ago, yet it continues to intrigue and astonish numismatists today. The 1974 1-cent penny, particularly the one struck at the Denver Mint with the D Mint mark, has become one of the most valuable and sought-after coins in the world of numismatics. So, what makes this penny so special, and how did it go from being worth just 1 cent to being worth a small fortune? To understand the significance of the 1974 1-cent penny, we first need to take a look at the broader context of the United States in the early 1970s. It was a time of great change and economic pressure. The U.S. was grappling with inflation, rising costs, and a shifting political landscape. Amidst this turmoil, the U.S. Mint was faced with the task of producing the country's currency, including the iconic penny. But by 1974, the Mint was experiencing its own set of challenges. At this point in history, the penny was still being struck from a bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition made the penny heavier and more expensive to produce, which would later lead to the change in metal composition after 1982. But in 1974, the U.S. Mint was still working with copper, and the goal was to produce a large quantity of pennies to meet the demands of daily transactions. This was also the year that the U.S. Mint was producing billions of 1-cent coins, and like any coin struck in large numbers, most of them would end up circulating in everyday transactions. But within this mass production, something unusual happened at the Denver Mint. An error occurred that would ultimately turn a few of these pennies into highly prized collectibles. And that, my friends, is where the story of the 1974 D penny takes a dramatic turn. The 1974 1-cent penny had a familiar design, one that had been in circulation for decades. On the obverse, the penny displayed the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln, created by artist Victor David Brenner. The reverse side featured the Lincoln Memorial, which had been introduced in 1959 and was designed by Frank Gasparo. These designs had been staples of U.S. currency for years, and for most people, they were simply a regular part of their daily lives. But as we know, the value of a coin isn't just determined by its design, it's the unique characteristics, rarity, and condition that can elevate it to something extraordinary. The key to the 1974 D penny's value lies in a minting error that occurred at the Denver Mint. While the majority of 1974 pennies were struck with standard dies, a small number of these coins were struck with proof dies that had been used in the production of proof coins. Now, proof coins are a special class of coins that are produced with highly polished dies, giving them a mirror-like, reflective finish. These coins are typically created for collectors and are never meant to be circulated. However, due to a mix-up at the Denver Mint, a small batch of 1974 pennies was struck with proof dies. This resulted in coins that, while technically regular pennies, had a reflective, almost mirror-like finish, giving them a distinctive and unique appearance. These proof-like pennies, though a mistake, became highly coveted by collectors, as they were unlike anything most people had seen in regular circulation. The era created an unintentional rarity that would only increase in value over time. It's important to note that these era coins didn't stand out at first. In fact, they were only discovered years later, after collectors began to notice subtle differences in the appearance of some 1974 pennies. Over time, as the world of numismatics grew and collectors began scrutinizing coins more carefully, the true value of these rare pennies began to emerge. The error was initially overlooked, but once the error was identified, collectors began to actively search for these unique 1974 pennies. Now, it's worth mentioning that not all 1974 pennies from the Denver Mint are valuable. Most of them are just like any other penny you'd find in your pocket change. But if you happen to come across one of these rare proof-like pennies, you're looking at a coin that is much more than just its face value. As time passed, numismatists began to see the potential for these pennies to appreciate in value, especially when they were found in good condition. The rarity of these coins is what makes them so valuable. Only a small number of 1974 pennies were struck with the proof dies, and most of those coins were either damaged or simply worn out due to years of circulation. The key to a high-value coin lies in its condition. Coins that are in near-perfect or mint condition are far more valuable than those that show signs of wear and tear. For this reason, the highest-graded 1974 proof-like pennies are the ones that have fetched the highest prices in the market. Professional grading services, like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation (NGC), and the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS), play a crucial role in determining the value of these coins. A coin's grade is determined by its appearance, how well it has been preserved, whether it retains its original luster, and how clearly the design elements are displayed. The higher the grade, the higher the value. For example, a 1974 penny that has been graded as MS 65 or higher is considered to be in excellent condition, and it will command a higher price than one with significant wear. The more pristine the coin, the more money collectors are willing to pay to add it to their collection. High-grade 1974 pennies are extremely sought after, and when one of these coins appears on the market, the bidding can be fierce. So, just how much can a 1974 penny be worth? Well, for those of you wondering about the value of these rare coins, the current market value for a well-preserved, high-grade 1974 penny can reach an astonishing $117,000. The 1974 penny serves as a perfect example of how a small minting error, combined with rarity and condition, can result in a coin becoming one of the most valuable pieces in the world of numismatics. A penny that was originally worth just 1 cent has now become a rare and valuable artifact, coveted by collectors around the world.